We're back, and today we're talking about expensive furniture projects that you actually could DIY. Mike, what's the most expensive thing you've ever done?
Probably like home renovating, because that's got a big price tag. I don't know if an individual furniture piece has had that, but you have.
I've done it a few times. I've never done it as like a dupe or a copy.
Yeah.
I've been seeing that a lot more. Like some of the Instagram accounts I follow, they'll take like a really expensive designer sofa and then they'll do a DIY version.
I remember when I started making content, it was a little more attainable copies. So it'd be something from like Pottery Barn,
right?
Or maybe it would be like an Urban Outfitters product or something from West Elm.
And in the woodworking community, you'll occasionally see people do kind of what they'll call inspired by like a famous table or chair on like Design Within Reach from like a famous mid-century modern designer. And they're like, oh, I'm doing my version of this. Mm-hmm. Now, I've never really liked to copy another creative person's work because you don't, unless you know them, you can say that you were inspired, but it feels like a knockoff. But today we're going to react to some high-priced pieces of furniture. And when we say high price, different ranges. We're talking things that are about $1,000 to things that are tens of thousands of dollars. The goal here isn't to copy them. And in many cases, I think copying them would be a mistake because also like a Rick Owens table, which we're going to talk about, you can do something of a similar look and aesthetic and hit some of the same vibes for an interior, but you're not going to create the value that he's done with his personal brand.
And you just don't want to bite either. If you're doing something creative, don't just apply your technical skills, like apply your creative side too. So put a spin on it, at least if you're inspired by something.
But the first one I know you're going to think is DIY-able. And this is from the brand Zara. So Zara, the clothing brand, it's kind of like H&M. It's like a newer version of H&M, mostly European. And they're known for kind of lower cost, fast fashion clothing.
But their fast fashion is slightly better than like H&M type things, is what I've heard.
Ever so slightly. Now, what's interesting is that they've gone into furniture. Their furniture prices for Zara are not correlated to their clothing prices. Like in clothing, they're more at the low end. Furniture, they're more at the middle to slightly expensive.
Sure.
So this table went viral, and I think people went viral because people were kind of annoyed at how much it cost, but it also sold out.
Okay.
So on one hand, they totally crushed it. On the other hand, so this is the viral Zara coffee table.
Wow. It looks like a couple pieces of plywood on top of a plywood platform.
Some serious edge banding. Now,
yeah, that's serious edge banding. That's not solid wood, especially, let's zoom in on this picture real quick. I got to do a fraud check. Look at the way that the grain is going. You've got the grain going along this direction, and that means you should have end grain here, but this is edge grain.
Now, to be fair,
fraudulent, it's not real. It's not real wood, it's just plywood.
Now, most of these companies now are not actually doing photo shoots of their finished pieces.
Like it's an AI render of what it is?
They worked for a long time. My former intern, Jamie, her job that she got after I left Boston. Yeah, pull that up, Jamie. Her job that she got after I left Boston was for, I think it was Wayfair or one of the big furniture companies, and she would just be rendering all of the shots for their e-commerce.
Because if you imagine like one brand with 30 bookcases, in different sizes,
and to do all the colorways.
But it's surprising to see it in the designer space. Now, when it comes to Wayfair, Amazon, even up to like Target, Walmart, totally makes sense. We're trying to cut the overhead so that we can pass the savings on. These people don't seem interested in passing on any savings when it comes to saving that time.
There's still
They should hire a photographer.
They should, but they don't. Because they're still trying to make that margin.
They should probably make things out of real wood.
They probably should.
But they don't.
So that's not a design. That's a commodity. To be fair, on the positive side, it looks nice. Like, you could totally see that making like a nice vibe in a home.
Totally, yeah.
But I think that is the perfect DIY project, where if you look at that and you're like, damn, it's sold out. Or,
but it does look cool.
Damn, it's $1,500. How would you DIY that?
Okay, immediately this popped into my head and ties into the project I just built. I made a bathroom vanity with fluted doors and drawers. Pretty cool little detail. Check that video out. But what I want to talk about is I found 1.5" edge banding on Amazon so that I had a plywood case with a thick top front that I wanted to look solid, the way that they want this 1.5" or 3" piece to look solid. But here's the crazy thing about the edge banding. You can get it from 3/4 inch thick for a single piece of plywood all the way up to 3 inches thick. That's all they're using. Like, I'll put a link right here. It's just an Amazon purchase of like $25 that completes this $1,500 look.
So I'll add to that. So the edge banding's key.
Yeah, because if you did double up a bunch of edge banding strips, it would not look classy. It needs to be a solid long veneer.
Right. So let's say, I would say the easiest way to do this would be to pick the veneers first. Oak, I think, is the way to go. Because with oak, you can also do so many cool stains. You could turn this black. You could do
Even do white oak or French oak instead of red oak, and you'd get a little more designer look probably.
So if I was to make this, I would get 1 sheet of oak veneer plywood from Home Depot.
Yep.
I would get that 3-inch oak edge banding that you described. Then the key to this, to get it perfectly flat and to build up that depth, I would get a solid core door.
Oh, fun.
Like a full masonite door. That gets you about 1.5 inches to 1.75 inches. Then you put the 3/4 inch oak on it.
Yeah.
If you want to make it exactly 3 inches, you could put like some shims to create a little space. Then you have that hefty top. And then for the bottom, you're not going to make an 8-foot by 4-foot table. You rip some of that oak and you just build like a little 3-inch skirt to go underneath it. And that would also give you the ability to adjust the height. So you have a solid core door cut down to size, oak plywood on top, edge band everything, and then build a little skirt to get the riser exactly the height you want.
How much do you, okay, assume you're getting a good deal on a door, right? This is the perfect use of DIYing kind of little found material. So say you got like $20 into a door.
I think all in, you could probably do it. Plywood is the expensive thing.
Yeah, you'd be into it for about $100, $150, a tenth of the price of what they're trying to sell it for.
Tenth of the price, and then whatever finish that you want to do. And finishes are no joke. Finishes are expensive.
And if you couldn't get your hands on a door easily, this table is low enough.
Go to your neighbor's house with a screwdriver.
Just steal it. And then once you put the veneer over it, they'll never know it was their door.
Don't copy a brand name designer's design verbatim.
Sure.
But do take your neighbor's door.
Easy. There's lines of what we think is respectable here.
Yeah.
But it's so low to the ground, you actually don't see the bottom of the table, even in casual day-to-day life. And so I've seen you stack plywood a few times, like on edges to where you get a false front.
Right. Yeah. Oh, and
so it's only a single plywood thick, but on the edge, you could stack a couple layers of that plywood and veneer over that apron edge.
That's really smart. Like, they have a continuous base that's inset from the tabletop. Now, if you made that base smaller and smaller, eventually with how low it is, you wouldn't see the base at all. It's like the floating bed idea. Now, if you want to make it even simpler for yourself, you could do a different version of the base. It doesn't have to be that way. It's really, the idea is about just a low, thick slab.
Yes.
Presented well. So you could just use 2 runners, stuff like that.
This is a perfect example of the kind of concept we're talking about, though. I haven't seen this table. I didn't know it was like going viral or anything. I see why people are getting mad at it from Zara, because if there's this idea of like quality versus quantity, it seems like they're playing the kind of like quantity game with the clothes.
Right.
But then they're trying to limit the quantity and kind of do this scarcity tactic with the furniture. So it's 2 big mottos that are like conflicting.
This is popcorn at a movie theater.
Yeah.
We know popcorn shouldn't cost $12, but it does, and people buy it.
Oh, and kind of does Zara sell dudes' clothes or just girls?
Both.
Okay, regardless, we'll talk about both people then. Everybody's got a closet full of clothes, but you really only have 1 coffee table. You only have 1 dining table in your house. And so a lot of people are going to want a lot of good deals for their clothing, for their wardrobe. Even if you're a little more affluent, you just want more clothes. You don't want to spend more on the clothes particularly.
And they have to, as a business, they have to find things that hit, that actually people want, and they probably have a whole bunch of inventory that doesn't sell too. So they're always trying to manage things that are sold with low margin versus things that are higher margin that may or may not hit.
I don't have the thought, but there is an interesting thought around like the scarcity of furniture, because there's only 1 room in your house for a table. There's only 1 room in your house for a sofa. And so you're willing to invest more in that, maybe not for the scarcity of it being Rick Owens, but just because you only get to get one.
And people probably keep furniture for longer than they keep clothing.
Big time. Unless you're getting some good Ariat Cascade 8-inch boots. I'm joking.
I still have my Ariat jacket from
great
like
stuff.
years ago. It's fantastic.
I haven't had a brand deal from them in 2 years, and I keep wearing their stuff. It's really good.
That's a successful deal. All right.
That's a successful partnership.
Now we're moving up both in terms of price and kind of design prestige.
Ooh.
We are looking at the Rick Owens plug table, not to be confused with Adam 22's X, but Mike gets that. So this is a whole series of tables that he did. Now, what do you think the price of this ranges from?
I could see a designer table that looks about like this being like 20, 25 grand, but because it's Rick Owens, I'm going to say 40.
Okay. These tables range from 10,000 to 260,000.
Like in this profile or a table that looks totally different?
In the plug table series. Now, to be fair, he did do a petrified wood version of that. And that's when you're getting into the Nick Cage buying dinosaur skulls kind of range. Like, look, petrified wood, I don't know how common it is, but it doesn't feel that common. Like I see a lot of quartz, I see a lot of like fossils. I even feel like I see more dinosaur bones than I do like petrified wood. So I get that like a petrified wood table would be at the priciest end of the spectrum.
There's going to be a lot of material costs in that.
Right.
Yeah.
I also like, Rick Owens is great at creating a style and a vibe. And he's built from like fashion to furniture and all kinds of cool creative things. He's an amazing creative talent. Not all of his stuff is for me, but he does quite well. But when I look at this, it's really simple. Now, the kind of trapezoidal truncated pyramid base, it actually comes through the top. So the top fits on it, which is like a nice thing. But this is also, I feel like, and again, I wouldn't copy this directly, but this idea of just a simple black silhouetted monolithic table, that's cool. And this is very DIY-able.
Right. So it's doing a lot of the work that a slab table does and letting the material do a lot of the legwork, because the simple geometry isn't the hardest thing to do if you're good at woodworking. Would you build the base solid or would you kind of do a big glue up?
I'd probably do a big glue up.
Yeah.
He does one with like a concrete or a stone base.
Fun.
So you could totally do this as a concrete base with like a wood top. I probably wouldn't do that trapezoidal one because that fit would be hard.
Yeah.
I would probably do it more as like a rectangular version. That way you're kind of doing something a little bit different.
And he certainly doesn't own the idea of like a sturdy base with a big slab top.
No.
I've seen that on Pinterest for 10 years.
Exactly.
And so the concept of murdering it out all black, pretty cool. And then kind of serializing it in this kind of like plug series. Cool concept. I love the branding. Rick Owens is cool. But you could offset it. You can do a different shape in the base. You can change the finish, change the shape of the top. You can do so many things that aren't biting Rick Owens, because if that's biting Rick Owens is biting a lot of other people.
Exactly.
Right.
I also think what would be really interesting is if you taper the ends. So if you're doing this like 3-inch thick table slab,
sure,
you have plenty of rooms to pull those ends at real thin. Maybe you pull them down to like 3/4 of an inch all the way around.
Makes me think of a mid-century kind of tulip profile. Like if you could extend that out to the edge, that'd be really fun.
Yeah. So what I think is really how this relates to DIY is I think like the best DIY projects are when you have a particular space in your home or a particular need for something that's kind of different about your house or your lifestyle. And you have a point of view aesthetically, and then you merge all those together into a project.
The beauty that I see in this too, that makes it DIY-able, is you're staying this black.
Right.
And so no longer are you relying on a couple grand in walnut, some kind of special slab that gets you this big one piece. You could really easily glue up some Douglas fir, India ink it black, pigment it black the way that you recently did on that giant blob bench that you made. And the material cost here could be really low. Or you could spin it and really try and shine the wood. And that's your spin that Rick Owens is like veering away from. And so you could take it one way or another, depending on what your skills are, what you have access to. But a concrete base with murdered out Douglas fir, I mean, you are into a
It would
project
be
for
pretty dope.
$100 again. And if that justifies a $50,000 price tag, you're winning the game.
Now the people, now the people that watch us for our home renovation projects or some of our modern farmhouse looking stuff, probably not so interested in Rick Owens, but we do know people that don't do necessarily a lot of DIY, but are into that kind of fashiony stuff. I think of your friend Caleb in Oklahoma,
for sure.
or some of my friends in LA. They're
He's
like,
the reason I've heard of Rick Owens
Right,
before he
exactly.
made furniture. Yeah, when he did. Yeah, go.
they're into that kind of underground music, kind of cool streetwear designery stuff, and they like and really admire creatives like this. I think like DIYing, if you have like a specific aesthetic and you're up to date on all these like kind of cool trends, DIYing can represent even a much greater value than if you're kind of stylistically agnostic and you're kind of like just anything functional works.
Right, because there's just, I'm building this because it's practical. And then other times, you're taking away a little bit of practicality because it just looks cool or because
Right.
it does something for you that maybe doesn't fit everyone else. So
The
where
other-
do you take that?
The other place where I think DIYing stuff like this makes sense, if you're opening like a small business, like a coffee shop or a
big
little
time.
boutique, where you're sort of borrowing from proven trends that are at the highest echelon of design and really expensive if you buy them as products. But if you put a little sweat equity, you can create and you can borrow from that feeling that presents your brand well, but without spending all the money, just spending a little more, sweat, blood, and tears.
Lately, I'm on a series of terrazzo projects, and that is really the spirit of where it's coming from. A lot of the terrazzo videos and content I've seen are coming from this. We want to recycle, reuse, and kind of do the green thing. So
Right.
they want to break up glass, they want to break up trash and make terrazzo with it. And that looks okay. But what I've seen as a trend since I've been kind of making content is people leaning deeper and deeper down this rabbit hole of terrazzo, not for the practicality of it, not for the cost savings of it, but because you can get some crazy, crazy looks and you can take some basic shape, the way that Rick Owens is taking a basic shape, but because you've applied this cool technique to it, now that's what's the price tag. That's the price tag to the whole thing.
And the most tried and true way to make expensive furniture pieces as a DIYer is still, I think, always going to go back to the slab table.
Yeah, dude, if you get a hookup on slabs, because they're always out there to be found. Maybe it's Facebook Marketplace, maybe it's Craigslist. Do a little old school internet digging. You can find some slabs.
Yeah. Now, are there any like you were never really into like you kind of liked mid-century modern design more as like a topic than you were like a fan of like, oh, I like this specific designer's table. I like this Ames table, this Ames chair, or this thing.
Yeah, well, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, yeah, you realize how you like Mies van der Rohe, you realize that you like Ames chairs, and then you're like, a Nelson bench is fun. But it's like, I like the concept of mid-century modern more.
I have always liked the vibes. Like I like
Yeah.
the set design of Mad Men more than I like any piece on a white background.
Yes.
Like I've never seen like a mid-century modern bench or table where I'm like, that thing is so perfect. Right? But it's more that I like that atmosphere.
Yeah.
And I think when you find like an environment or a time period or a setting that you like, it's easier to authentically pull inspiration from the overall setting and then put that into a piece for yourself rather than being like, I like that piece, now I'm going to recreate it here.
Yeah, you got a good point. Like instead of any individual furniture designer that I really like a lot or dislike a lot, you would just be the stereotypical person that's like, I really enjoy like a Frank Lloyd Wright house.
Right.
And he's going to assemble all the pieces that, are a mix of all those designers that I don't really know that well.
Yeah, I don't want a history lesson. I want a vibe.
Yeah, I want the vibe. I want to see walnut. I want to see square things now at angles. I want to see like cool rounded profiles. I don't want to see like big upholstered things as much. But no, that's not totally me though. Now everything's a fusion, right? Think of like the 70s infusion and the 90s infusion of that contemporary organic blobbiness. That combined with the classic mid-century vibe, I think is like where my style sits. I love pops of color that hits from both of those things, but my builder loves to see the frame, to see the woodworking, to see a little bit of like the just skeleton of the project. But then at the same time, the way that what do you call it? Like retro 90s contemporary, neo-contemporary, blobby look. It's just fun. I like the whimsy of it.
I just ran into this. I was a judge on a design competition for this, like these furniture and lighting design awards.
Okay.
And there was both professional entries of like people that were kind of around my age, and then there was student entries. So people that were in undergrad programs for industrial design. So many of the students' work, like there's this group of girls that submitted this cool modular sofa, but it was like so 90s. It felt like it was straight off of the show Friends, but a little like more vibrant colors. Some of it was kind of like one of the ones that did really well and placed high was a very simple light, but it was in like primary colors. It just felt like really fresh, clean 90s IKEA kind of looking stuff, but now it feels vintage.
Yeah.
Whereas like if that would have happened when I was in college, it would have been kind of like not mid-century modern, but more like early modernist kind of looking stuff, like the Frank Corbusier, the Mies van der Rohe kind of stuff. And I think if it was people like in your age demo, actually in between me and your age demo, it would be a lot of mid-century modern stuff.
Yes.
Maybe, and then towards the end, a little Art Deco-y.
It would touch into like a Tiffany lamp.
Right.
Like someone would make a modern twist on a stained glass lamp or something like that.
Yeah. So I like the idea of being inspired by individual designers, looking at what is successful when their pieces are put into a setting, and then not copy the setting, but pull your direct design inspiration from that setting. That creates, I think, like enough disconnect to where you're not copying someone's stuff. And I think in music, it's kind of the same. Like you don't want to be copying like certain beats and rhythms and stuff like that. You might want to just think of like, oh, this feels like this vibe.
Yeah.
I want to dabble in that space, but I'm going to create from scratch my own beats and geometry and such.
This whole conversation has popped someone into my head that I wasn't thinking of at the beginning. You remember Greg Klassen, who invented the river table.
Yep.
If we're going to talk about someone who has been inspirational to woodworkers and DIYers, people that have taken the idea and straight up copy and pasted it, or have taken the concept and just gone so left field that it's like, it's hard to even attribute the original inspiration. I think that's the perfect example. There's a picture right here. They're beautiful tables. And the light blue glass that he uses, dude, the original can't be beat.
Right.
He's like the Coca-Cola on this.
So what's so interesting about that is I think he trademarked the term, and you have to, hey, this is the internet.
Everything in
look
grain
it
of
up
salt
for
here.
yourself.
Yeah. Don't bash anybody
I think
here.
He trademarked the term river table.
Okay.
Right? Which means he has the right to enforce it. But if he doesn't enforce it, he could lose that trademark. So I think there was a little bit of controversy where he some people were told that they aren't supposed to use the term river table. And they took it as that he had a patent on it instead of a trademark. So when you trademark something, it's about the words and the terminology as they're associated with a product in that category.
Like how we talked earlier about Rick Owens with the plug table. You can't call your table a plug table, but you can make a plug table and call it whatever you want.
Exactly. So the same way you can make a shoe that looks like a Nike, but you can't use that logo.
Yeah.
So what was interesting about the river table is that there was more copies of the river table in terms of the verbiage than in the actual design, because the original ones were glass and wood, and the most common river table we see today is epoxy and wood.
Totally.
And so that's where I think he was actually a really influential designer, is that his idea, and I actually think coming up with the term river table, that's like a very catchy term. There's a reason why it's stuck around. So the epoxy and wood tables are technically, in this sort of commercial legal sense, not river tables, even though they were inspired by the river table made out of glass. But have you ever seen someone in the kind of YouTube space do a glass version? I think like a couple of the guys have.
Maleki did one back in the day.
Yeah.
And he went full shout out Greg Klass and everything. Yeah. But he just wanted to go through the process as a skill builder. I think I remember it was one of his OG videos. Yeah.
So I think the glass ones are pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And look, a lot of the epoxy ones are quite nice too. Some of those blue epoxy ones, a little sus.
Yeah. Oh, and I think Maleki got hired by somebody to make the river table. And at a certain point, if you're like, Greg Classon's not available to make
Wait,
this
didn't
table. Will
someone
you make this table?
Didn't
Then
someone
yeah,
make a river table where it actually looked like a river? They did like a
that would
whole
be
scene
fun
of
to
like a
do.
trout in there and
Do you
stuff.
know if somebody did that? Drew Billet did?
Someone
Okay.
did it. Someone did it where
Drew built stuff.
they fully created like a whole.
I want to do that now that you say it. That's
No, I
fun.
think-
Like make an aquarium table.
Someone actually did it where I think a couple people did where it's an actual river.
Okay, so it doesn't need to have goldfish. It could be just a nice waterfall. Like it rivers down and then cycles back around somehow, but like waterfalls off the edge or something.
If someone made a solid walnut toilet,
Someone's
somebody
made-
made like a table with actual running water and stuff.
I want to do this though. This sounds fun.
The creek table.
Yeah.
So I think
That's
I mean
cool.
I think with like a concrete outdoor table with just like a running water feature in it would
Totally.
be pretty nice. Do some little erosion sort of details and have like a little stream going through.
Score like some lines into it.
Right,
So it
you
like
like
cascades.
Wash your
and does the
hands in
thing.
it. Maybe you put like you serve the sushi. You put it on a little post. I had a float
Yeah.
in the lazy river. A little lazy.
I like that actually. Yeah, you got a little hors d'oeuvres, a lazy river.
We need more lazy rivers.
Yeah. Growing up, there used to be a water park called Whitewater Bay in Oklahoma City, still there. My grandpa would take us there. You could just find him there constantly. He would just sit in a lazy river for like 4 hours. He loved it.
I just saw a funny video about like kind of like low budget water parks that were done without engineers like back in the day.
Yeah.
And
Accidents.
they did like a loop-de-loop water slide.
Oh no.
No engineering, just like a closed pipe. One, getting into a dark closed pipe water slide, scary. When it has a full loop-de-loop. So they didn't, to test it, they hired teenagers to just try it on.
Just go for
The
it.
first one knocked out, broke their nose and lost 2 teeth.
Like got up and just
So then they put some padding on the part where they impacted, right?
smooth.
So then the next person goes down.
We don't need to work about the physics, about the impact. We just need to cushion the
So-
blow.
They hired the new guy. New guy goes in, doesn't break his nose, doesn't lose any teeth, but he has a long gash. It was the tooth from the first guy got stuck into the wall and he slid over it.
Oh,
But shout out to product testers. You're the real heroes.
yeah. I love it when someone makes a big DIY slip and slide, but I don't think you need to put any loops into any water slides.
There's a few YouTube documentaries that I've watched parts of about like world's most dangerous water park in New Jersey.
Okay.
This water park got shut down, and it was like these like off-brand, uninsured, like kind of
Trying to be Coney Island places.
right, some real carny stuff.
Yeah.
Because like everyone loves a good water park when you're young,
Dang.
but like now that I think about it, like water parks are just they're just a recreational piss swamp.
So much pee looking back on it because I peed a lot in it. As a kid. As an adult, I don't pee in public pools, but I think every
As an adult, I don't go in public pools.
yeah, for real, because of what I did when I was a kid. I think a lot of young
Hotel
men.
pool is the closest, but I look at even like those like some of those like pool party DJ scenes in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, no, thank you.
Yeah, you get enough drinks into you that even the adults are
No
they're
people
letting
aren't going.
loose.
Everyone's just hammered.
Everyone's like, I can't go there. It's too far.
Yeah, no, nice quiet hotel pools.
And you're intaking so much liquid too.
Yeah, sunburnt. People are all red.
Yeah. Do you have any other designer like expensive things?
Those were like the examples that came to mind.
Okay.
We talked about it in I think an episode of Maker Ranch. It was just this pedestal, and this was like just
Yeah.
a black wood 12 by 12 inch, probably 11 by 11 because they milled it down, and it was like $1,000 for just a square chunk of wood about 20 inches high that you could set an art piece on. Now, it's funny, like at that point, just go to a lumberyard. And I actually saw, you know, Gobi Walnut, like they're one of like the big walnut.
It's familiar, but I'm gonna say no.
They have like a big account on Instagram. They're like
Yeah,
one
maybe
of
that's where I've seen them.
there's a few of those companies that like are just like the slab kings.
Got you.
Great Instagram follow, Gobi Walnut, GOBY. They were selling some just square cubes of solid walnut, like 20 inches. They had like a 16-inch solid cube of walnut. And I don't know exactly what they were for and not cheap, but like that's where I think like buying that chunk of just material and finishing it, I'm totally okay with people overpaying that because it's a real solid chunk of walnut.
Yeah.
And if you're more on the budget side, start experimenting with those like cool stains and finishes, develop some technique, and go to any like, I think people are kind of also limited by Home Depot. Now, we love Home Depot. It's like our go-to place. We always get stuff. But when it comes to like the bigger, like, headers and the construction lumber, like once you start getting, California has more of like the 4x12s and like the 6x8s than we didn't have any of those back in Boston.
Right. Because they had specialty suppliers in Boston
Right.
doing all that, so Home Depot doesn't pick up the slack.
But when I go to Parker Builder Supply, and I think Parker's like a chain, you just go into the back and you tell them exactly the dimensions you want, and they just price it out right there for you, and they order it direct from the lumber yard.
Yeah.
It gets shipped out, and then you come pick it up or they deliver. And that's where I've been getting those 6x12 Doug fir beams.
Yeah.
And I was talking to the guy, and they've done, I was like, what's the biggest beam you've ever done? And they did a 2-foot by 8-inch cedar beam. It was like a $15,000 beam for like a big house build, and they wanted one big exposed cedar beam right down the middle. So, but when you start, if you just want like big chunks, and the other thing, look for like trees fall all over.
Tree stumps.
Yeah. Look for someone that has a tree stump that's a little too high.
Yeah.
Rent a chainsaw, buy a chainsaw, and you might make it back by just getting that one big stump and square it up, and you're good to go.
And heck, if you're running the sawmill, maybe it's time to list some sculpture blanks.
I've never really run a sawmill. I kind of want to.
Yeah, it'd be cool, like a band sawmill.
Yeah, not great in the desert. We got to stick to the rock and dirt farming.
Yeah, if we live somewhere with
if we lived in a forested.
Yeah.
But like, if I was in the Pacific Northwest, I would be all about that chainsaw log cabin life.
You already know I would have one. Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
All right, Mike, what are you obsessed with?
I'm obsessed with two things, but they're very similar. Routers and angle grinders. Two handheld tools that a lot of DIYers approach with a little bit of like,
For a good reason. You're talking about those high RPMs now.
They are dangerous. It's like a big exposed blade sitting right here in your hand. Routers, though, are so handy when it comes to woodworking. They're killer. Get over any of the fears you have and just make sure that you're doing the thing you're supposed to do. Like if you're going around a thing, go clockwise the way you're supposed to, or not that way if you're supposed to.
You know what, though? You can kind of do it either way.
Well, you'll know when you're doing it wrong pretty quick because it'll grab on you. But yeah, literally every time before I router, I Google, what way am I supposed to do this?
Yeah.
I just don't pretend like I know, and I'm always safe, if that makes sense. So use a router, get used to it, build the muscle memory, and then you'll get comfortable because you can get really cool profiles with it. I've been working with a lot of concrete and terrazzo. You can even get diamond bits.
I've seen that,
Like a router bit, so you could template an edge or something.
And you can get those for both the angle grinder and the router.
Big time. And so that's the other unsung hero of the DIY world. You love an angle grinder. I'm loving the angle grinder lately. If you are just strictly a woodworker, maybe the angle grinder doesn't have as big of a place for you. But if you consider yourself like a creative, a maker, a DIYer, any of those categories, get into angle grinding. Go online, look at Amazon. They've got all kinds of attachments for different wood carving, stone carving, or sanding and polishing. Just check it out. You'll be inspired.
And start with a corded one.
Cool. Yes.
Start with the corded angle grinder. You can really do a lot. Get good dust protection because it saves you a ton of time.
Yeah.
So, but it does kick up a lot of dust. On the router thing, there's been an innovation, I think. These probably existed longer ago, but what you're seeing more and more is like long, skinny, flush trim bits.
Yeah.
Like when I first learned woodworking, flush trim bits were more looked like traditional router bits. Now you get ones that look like CNC bits with like just the ball bearing flush to it.
Yep.
I'm seeing those more and more at construction sites.
Oh, I believe
so. If you're like putting up some OSB sheathing and the window's already framed, rather than try to cut with the circular saw and then put the piece up, they just put up the board hole, drill a hole, or even use and just put the quarter-inch router bit and then just flush trim it right to the window opening. So the palm router is a DIY tool. It can be useful in construction for flush cutting.
Yeah.
and it's useful in sort of woodworking.
Like fine woodworking
Yeah,
details.
I like it. An angle grinder is just like, hey, you forget your keys to a padlock or the combination too. Like you got an old safe you got to open. Like I don't think that an angle grinder can be stopped.
No, and they're cheap in the world of tools. And so it's something that can break you out of the square building or the angular building that you've been doing and maybe a little bored of. And immediately you're into getting cool profiles, curves, or just taking big stock down.
So my obsession is an Instagram account. Now, Mike, do you like a good cabin in the woods build?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you like a little bushcraft occasionally as it comes across?
Yeah,
like a little outdoor boys kind of thing?
Yeah.
Do you like kind of like really like scenic kind of like ASMR where it's like using some hand tools and stuff like that, but still getting stuff done?
I just might.
This combines all of that. Now, I don't know what this guy's saying because it's all in Japanese, but it's kind of a small account. It's called cozy_builder, but the username is solo cabin 37db.
Wow.
And it's like pretty nice footage, like really beautifully shot. And he's just building this cabin by himself and taking his sweet ass time.
There's a Japanese guy, it looked like, yeah?
Yeah.
That's cool. So these are the woods in Japan. They're pretty. Big trees. Big maple trees, it looks like.
And he's hand hewing some stuff. Like,
wow.
But he's doing an interesting thing. Like, he's kind of doing like conventional framing for parts of it. Again, totally solo, which shout out to him. Some of those things are heavy. But some of the beams in the middle are pretty solid. And he hand hewed them out of a full ass round tree.
Yeah.
And so the part I like is he's having to get kind of ingenious with his kind of staging to get these big heavy beams up into the air to span the roofs.
Totally.
And using a lot of axes and stuff like that. But the videography is on point. That's that hand-hewed beam right there.
That's just so cool, man.
The videography is on point. It's not overly fetishized. It's like he's not trying to be too precious.
Right.
Like he's not cosplaying as this. He just is this guy. And, you know, your feed can be tumultuous, but this is one of the ones where sometimes with like just the ASMR build kind of things that are really beautifully done, I'm like, this is pleasant, but am I learning anything?
Right.
No. So if I can get that pleasantry, but I'm like, oh, that's a cool way if you're by yourself to slowly work a beam up. I really appreciate people that can do the full lifestyle, beautiful content, but then still have a few little nuggets of wisdoms you can get out of that.
And that's cool because this, I cut you off, but I was going to say it's cool because it's a long story. Like he's eventually going to get it done. So any of the reels on their own, like it's just a cool video of a guy hewing a log down into a beam.
Right.
But when you zoom out a year later, you'll have that thing done.
Also just like awesome retirement plan. Like get some land and just be like, you know what I'm going to do for just shits and giggles over the next couple of years? Build a cabin real slow, one beam at a time.
And it's very Japanese of him to use as many hand tools as he is.
Hell
like,
yeah.
very cool. Like, I got a sharp axe. I'm just hewing this thing down.
Does he cut his bread with a pull saw?
Yo, you surprised me with that. That is a cool clutch move. This man cuts his bread with a Japanese pull saw. Yeah. But it makes sense. It's
got to get to that resilient crust.
It's a stainless steel blade.
Stainless steel blade. Thinner curve than a bread knife.
So you saved the bread.
Yeah. Also, we have like the world's worst bread knife.
You do?
Yeah, I was like a Amazon Faberware one.
Nice. Yeah,
and you know what? Shade to Faberware. You're everywhere, but nothing that you make is that great.
You should improve on that.
Yeah, you should be better.
All right, everybody. Well, this has been episode 252. Thank you guys for listening. Any closing words?
Be safe out there with the angle grinders and routers.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening. Subscribe.
Bye.